We sure are. You can. You don't really have an assignment to do today. I'm going to introduce to you guys. It's not due until the 31st. It's not due to the 31st. So I'm going to show you guys, I'm going to set you guys up today and then just go over like what a DBQ is so that you guys can ask questions, and then I'll set you guys off on your way to start writing it. We'll start at 11:20 today. So it's always a good idea, but I will have you will have access to like everything I'm writing on my screen after today's lecture. So if you'd like to take your own notes to write down your own thoughts, it's always a good idea. All right. We only have 15 people. Can you guys hear me? Okay. So we only have 16 people. I'll wait a couple minutes to wait and see if more people show up. But if you're here, please mute your mic. Yeah, go ahead and mute your mic. You guys won't need to use your mics unless there'll be times where I'll be like, okay, unmute your mic if you have a question or something. But for the most part, you don't need your mic on. And then to take attendance, just so you guys can see on my screen, there's an option right here that says attendance. It's this link right here. You just have to click on it, and it'll open up immediately or automatically into a Google form. And you guys just have to click on period 3. Make sure you guys click on period 3 because that's how I'm taking attendance. It'll automatically upload your Loyola email account, and then that's how I'm taking attendance. Okay. You do that within the first 5 minutes of class. That way I know you're here. And so every day I'll have a different link to a different Google form, and that's how you'll sign in. If you leave, like say like I have 18 people right now, and then I see that like in 10 or 20 minutes, I see that there's only like 10 people because people left. I am gonna then take back your attendance. Obviously, I'm gonna mark you absent. Okay, so you can't just like check in and then like leave. I cross-reference with who and when you guys have come into the class. Okay, so don't try and like dip out early. So it looks like there's only 18 people today, which is a little concerning. Do people know what time class starts? We should have, yeah, hopefully. Yeah, if you guys see somebody who's not here, maybe they just like don't know how to sign on, which is totally fine. It's the first day. And how was your guys' first classes? You guys can unmute your mics. Okay. That's cool. That's cool. It is okay if your camera doesn't work. I don't need to see you. Now, if you guys have like questions and maybe I'm in the middle of talking and you don't want to interrupt by turning your mic on, there is the chat feature. It's just like a pull down feature. It has a little speech bubble at the top right hand corner of your screen. And you guys can type in there and I will be looking at it. Yep, there it is. But don't, say things like that, Philip. It's for, don't troll it. It's definitely for us to actually use it productively. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, be the bigger man. Yeah, absolutely. So, okay, looks like everybody's here. Awesome. Okay, looks like you guys figured it out. Every day I will have this homepage here. Every day that we have class, I will make the font bigger for whatever day it is. So like today is day 1, so I made the font really big so you guys know what we're doing. And then tomorrow I'll minimize the font, uh, or not tomorrow, but next class. And then I'll make day 2 a little bit bigger just so you guys kind of know what we're doing. Can you guys hear me still? Okay, thank you. Sorry. Okay, perfect. So there's all of that. So I'll have these steps so you guys kind of know what our steps are doing. Normally steps 1 and 2, like step 1 will be like check in, attendance, like what's up, how are we all feeling? And then step 2 will usually be kind of like the video conference for the day. And then step 3s and 4 will usually be what I'm requiring for homework. I won't be taking up the full 70 minutes most likely most days. Today I am, because today I'm setting you guys up for your DBQ, and I want to make sure that you guys feel confident writing your DBQ, and so you guys might have a lot of questions to go over today. But in general, and we'll just kind of, none of your teachers, this is new for us too. Like we're not 100%, you know what's going on either. So we're still trying to feel out like how much work you guys are getting, balanced with are you able to do that considering the circumstances. This is kind of new for all of us to be working at home all the time. So we want to like do all of these things this week and then reassess where you guys are at next week in terms of like workload. So like today I'm doing the full 70 minutes. It's going to be a lot of me talking and you guys kind of looking at the screen. But other classes might just be me checking in with you guys and seeing if you have questions, and maybe there'll be a brief discussion, and then I might just let you guys go so you guys can start working on whatever you need to get work done. So it's gonna differ day to day, and I'll be sure to let you guys know in our check-in. Okay. Before we jump into document analysis, I want to just kind of bring up a couple of like housekeeping issues. One is that is the AP exam. So we don't really know where we're at with the AP exam in terms of when or where you're going to be taking it. A lot of schools are completely shutting down. So a lot of public schools aren't even doing digital teaching. And the reason for that is just because they don't have access. Not every student in public education has access to like Wi-Fi or to a computer to do something like this. So you guys are really at like an advantage to be able to do online learning like you're doing. But because of that, AP College Board is aware that there's going to be a really odd like learning curve, and it's probably going to be a huge imbalance. So they still want students to take the AP exam. They just don't know what that's going to look like. So it might be a take-home exam. So you guys might be taking the AP exam at home. And then also they don't know if there's going to be any written portions. They think that maybe they're going to shorten the AP exam. So instead of you guys taking like a 3-hour exam, you'll just be taking maybe like an hour exam, and it might just be multiple choice questions, or it might be just like a DBQ, or it might just be a free response question, like a long essay question. So they don't know. The AP College Board doesn't know. And so what leaves us kind of in an odd spot, because this entire class is kind of getting you guys ready for this AP exam. And so as a department, we need to make sure that no matter what happens, you guys are the most prepared so you guys can get the best score possible. So we're just going to kind of go forward like we normally would. Okay. But when May 14th comes around, things might look a little bit different. So I just want you guys to know that you guys are prepared and emotionally aware of that. On that note, the AP College Board has released a practice exam. They released a multiple choice questions exam, and they've released a free response question exam that has short answer questions, a DBQ, and a long essay question that you can practice. I've assigned both to you guys. Actually, I don't think I've assigned the free response to you yet, but I'll do that literally right when we get off this conference call with you. But I've released the multiple choice exam. So you guys can practice. This is a really great study tool, a really good practice tool. So if you guys want to do that, as in addition to like writing the DBQ, which is going to be your assessment for this unit, and learning all the content for the last couple units, it's a really good study tool, because I know some of you guys have been asking about that. Questions about any of that I just went over? You guys can unmute your mic if you want to ask out loud, or you guys can type it. Yeah, it's going to be different. Yeah, they're going to change the scoring. So if they keep the exam exactly the same, the curve is going to be very, very, very mellow. Like, it will not be a steep curve, because they understand the circumstances. But if they don't keep it exactly the same and they just shorten the exam, like to a multiple choice exam, it'll just be out of however many points are on the multiple choice exam. Yeah, we don't know. We'd have to reevaluate that. So that's kind of a department decision and a conversation we have to have with the APUS team. But I have a feeling that things are going to be a little bit adjusted and different in terms of how you guys gain access to APUS for next year, just because of the circumstances. Okay, there's that. How's everyone feeling, though, in general? Are you guys feeling okay? You feel good? You ready to learn? Well, good. Honestly, part of me feels like maybe, God or the universe works in very mysterious ways, right? So maybe this is just, it sucks and we don't want these things to happen, but also maybe we just needed the rest. And so maybe, I'm glad you're taking advantage of being restful. But if you are feeling anxious, or you are feeling uncomfortable, or you feel like things are going to become more stressful because everything's being online learning, or you guys can't go outside and go to restaurants, I know, which is crazy. Try and find ways to distract yourself and be healthy, and do get a lot of rest. Take advantage of the time in a positive way, because I know it is it's odd. I don't think none of us have ever gone through anything like this ever. So, but we're doing it together. We can do it. Okay, so let's jump into it. First and foremost, before we get into the DBQ, actually, I want to go over these assignments. This is due today. Okay, I know that maybe you guys didn't do it because of what's happened and the circumstances, but I do want you guys to take a look at this. And if you have done it, does anyone have any questions about it? Yeah, so what I want you guys to put in there, and I kind of have it up on the screen, is the big thing is like HIV and AIDS kind of came onto the map in the late 20th century. And we definitely see a spread of that throughout the world because of planes. And because planes become cheaper and more accessible in the late 20th century, more people are traveling, and you have a lot more like middle class, and maybe like working class individuals traveling. It's not just like maybe this elite group of people. You're going to have more people traveling, and so there's more likelihood of diseases spreading. Okay. I know I actually didn't make this assignment because of the coronavirus. This is just part of your curriculum, so it was just kind of timely that this happened. But hopefully you guys learned a bit about how disease can affect our history. A lot of our history is affected by epidemiological issues like this. And so kind of the three impacts of disease look at like how different countries' economic systems can withstand a major disease or epidemic or a pandemic, how medical care is equalized or established in each nation, and then also just a political concept is how do world leaders handle pandemics, and how do they affect their citizens? How do they calm their citizens or not calm their citizens? So those are like kind of the three like inspect themes, right? Like social, economic, and political inspect themes that kind of fit under the spread of disease. So as you guys are living in a pandemic currently, keep those things in mind. Does our medical care system handle this pandemic? How does our economy handle something like this, and how are our national leaders handling a pandemic? So any other questions about this assignment? Okay, and then the other assignment I wanted to focus on, and I will post this answer key. This was due also on Friday or last Friday. And I just wanted to see if you guys had any questions. There's a lot of information packed in here. A lot of this information is going to need to be used for your DBQ, for your analysis and your contextualization of your DBQ. So if you felt confused about anything here, or if you had questions, or if you just need a deeper understanding of anything, let me know, because I will post this answer key on Canvas after this lecture. So you guys can reference it for your DBQ, because I don't know how quick I'm going to get this graded to get back to you. But I want to make sure that if you guys do have any questions, I want to give you guys some time. Any questions about this assignment? Okay. All right, if anything doesn't rise up and you think of something, just shoot me an email. I'm available. Okay? All right. Let's talk about DBQs. Who's excited? All right. No one. Great. Good. Yeah, so excited you're speechless. Okay, so I have this on Canvas. I have this presentation under today, but I also have this presentation under modules. I actually have a few things you guys can open up for this DBQ process, if my computer decides to actually load. Okay. I've been having really slow issues with Wi-Fi today, considering the circumstances. Anybody else having issues with their? Yeah, it's been rough. Yeah, I'm sure. Okay, so under resources, I have writing the DBQ, which is the presentation I'm going to be going over today. And then I have a DBQ writing template and then a DBQ document analysis template. So you're welcome to open all three of those up, make your own copy, type all over it as I go through this presentation. And I'll show you guys how to interact with all three of these resources today. Okay. So you guys wrote a time DBQ in January that you guys all had a meltdown about because you thought you weren't going to finish, and then you ended up all doing okay on it anyways. Because DBQs, as you guys kind of learned, is not so much about whether or not you 100% are the best historian or you know everything about the content. It's about how good you are at analyzing documents and how well you are able to take your analysis and put it and make an argument out of it. Okay? So this is you demonstrating your historical critical thinking skills. Okay. The DBQ is a 60-minute long portion of your exam. It's 25% of your exam. And some students actually feel that this is the hardest part of the exam because you have to analyze so many sources. And sometimes students get bogged down in the language. Some students think this is the easiest part of the exam because even if you didn't know anything about the prompt, you're still given these documents that you can kind of, if you're a really kind of critical thinking person, you can piece together to make a really good essay. So it just depends on what type of student you are. LEQs and DBQs are structured exactly the same. LEQs, just as a reminder, are the long essay questions that are only 3 paragraphs. A DBQ is 5 paragraphs. Okay. You guys wrote a formal DBQ in semester 1 where you guys got to take it home. You're doing the same thing for this DBQ. You're taking it home, and it'll be due on March 31st. That's already in your calendar on Canvas. The DBQ is out of 7 points, and normally you have to write it with black or blue pen, but we'll see if that happens. You might be typing your DBQ instead this time around, okay? But normally, if all goes according to plan, you guys would take this in person, 60 minutes in black or blue pen, okay? Questions about like just the basic facts of a DBQ? Yes. Yes. Who's this talking, by the way? I will. I'll show you guys what to do. I'll show you like a way to get everything set up. But then what I recommend doing is writing your entire essay like you would on the exam in like a Google Doc. And then I'm going to have you guys copy and paste that into the AP Classroom dashboard. Okay, the only thing I'm asking you guys to do is submit the AP Classroom dashboard. So the other templates that I show you, I'm not going to be looking at. That's just for your guys' disposal to help you guys set up your exam. Okay? Yeah, so it's not due until March 31st. I'm available always for you guys to send me any of your work. I recommend writing a paragraph by paragraph and then like sending me each paragraph that you write and having me proofread it before you move on to the next paragraph. That's a really great way to get to stay on track, but also just to get live feedback as soon as possible instead of writing like a whole essay and then waiting longer for me to get back to you. It's much easier for me to read one paragraph and get back to you in like an hour than it is for me to read your entire essay and get back to you in a day. Does that make sense? So you have essentially 2 weeks, 2 weeks and 2 days to get feedback. And I'm available for you. I originally had you guys going to the writing center, but that's not going to happen. So I'm available. You have your peers to help you, but I'm allowing myself to be available until 4 p.m. every day. So whenever you need me, just shoot me an email and we can meet on Google Meets, or if you just want me to proofread, I can just do that without us having to meet virtually. Good? Okay. Okay, so let's go over your DBQ. What the process you should be going through. And the AP exam is so formulaic, okay? And I can't emphasize that enough. Now, I don't, it's good to stick to a formula. It's good to stick to a structure. And the more you do that, the more likely you will get a higher exam score on the AP exam. When you go to college, you can start moving around and getting a little bit more complex and start flowing outside of that structure a little bit. Some of you guys are able to do that now, okay? But for the majority of us, we got to stick to this like formulaic structure that seems kind of repetitive. But to be quite frank, it just makes it easier for the reader on the AP exam. So the more you stick to the formula, the better score you'll probably get, okay? So start with analyzing the prompt, okay? You guys already had this prompt. This was your DBQ prompt in January, your timed DBQ that you had. And so the first thing you want to do is extract as much information you can get from the prompt, okay? I just found out last week that you see the second part of this prompt where it says explain how another type of document would help you analyze the effects of the flow of silver bullion in the period. I just found out last week that they're no longer doing that. So the whole like explain another type of document or what other document or can you pick another document, that doesn't exist. They just want you to use 6 out of the 7 documents. They will only give you 7 documents and they will ask you to use 6. Okay, so that's that. They will not do the whole pick another document. So your prompt would really be just what you see in this first sentence. They will also give you some historical background. but just to remind you guys, historical background should not be put into your context or into your analysis or your evidence in your essay. This is just to kind of help you jog your memory. This is also to help those students who might not know anything about this time period. It's just there to kind of support you in preparing you for building your own context and your own evidence, okay? So once you've read your prompt, which in this case is using the documents, analyze the social and economic effects of the global flow of silver from the mid-16th century to the early 18th century. So that's your prompt. Okay. So you want to make some observations over here. This is from first period today. So if you guys see anything that we missed from first period, you guys can add it in your own notes, or you guys can mention it in the chat feature on Google Meet meeting. But we said that in the prompt, they're asking us to identify social and economic themes from all the documents. Those are our inspect themes, right? Also, the historical thinking skill that we have to demonstrate to the reader is causation, okay? So you would pick one of these things to identify, or one of these things to focus on in your essay. That's what you're trying to demonstrate to the reader. I know how to explain cause and effect of historical issues. And the reason we know that is because it says effects right there, okay? You're not going to be talking about causes, okay, unless it's like in a contextual form, in a contextual format, you could talk about causes there. But in terms of like your evidence and your analysis, you are only going to be talking about effects because the prompt only asks about effects. The time period is Age of Exploration. Our key players, our major characters are the Spanish, the Chinese, and the Americas. Locations, okay, are also included there, and then time period, right, Age of Exploration. Okay, so we have what we're looking for. We know we just built context for ourselves, right? It's the once upon a time, right? We know who, like the opening of a movie. We know who the characters are. We know where we're located. We know the situation that we're working with. Okay, we're working with these major global powers, and we're talking about silver. Okay, just based on the prompt and the extraction that we took. So you want to start building context as you would write it in an intro paragraph. So remember, you always start off with the context of the surrounding information around the prompt first in an intro paragraph. And the easy formula to kind of follow is the global, regional, national/local formula. Okay, so this is what we wrote in first period. We said, the Age of Exploration was an era that established new and revolutionary forms of trade and resource extraction from new parts of the world. Very broad, very global. We're just saying this was the time period and this was what happened. Okay, then we get a little bit more specific, that upside down triangle, right? Then we get to this kind of middle part of the upside down triangle. Globalized markets were established that range from Europe to the East and China and all the way to the Americas. Okay, so now we know that these globalized markets didn't just function in one region of the world. They expanded multiple regions. Okay, great. And then we're going to get a little bit more specific and go national and say these natural resources like silver, as found in the Americas specifically by the Spanish who were in the Americas, led to new forms of economic expansion and economic mercantilism. Great. Okay, not only am I connecting it to the prompt and the economic effects, but I'm also establishing that I'm going to focus on this one specific region and how it impacted this one region, which in this case, I'm going to focus on the Americas. Okay, and then once you have all of that context, then you put your thesis. So this would be what you see here. This would be your intro paragraph. Your context should not go beyond 5 sentences. And those 5 sentences must lead you to a really specific argument or set of arguments, which would be in your thesis. So that's paragraph 1, all right? Does anyone have any questions about context or how to contextualize? Okay, if a question does arise, I will be going over this a little bit more when I get to the templates. And so if something arises, just let me know. Okay, Once you've contextualized, once you've built kind of the context portion of your intro paragraph, you want to start reading your documents. Okay, you haven't written a thesis yet because you haven't read any of the documents. You have to read the documents before you can make arguments. So once you get to your documents, you want to extract this information from the doc. You want to create a summary, and I've included context and historical thinking skill to your summary. And the reason I did that is because these things are just as important in your understanding of the summary of the document as just like paraphrasing the document in itself. Okay, so I want you to include like what's going on in the world around this document in your summary. And then you want to extract your inspect themes, your POV, your bias, and then does the document match with any other document? Okay, so this document you've seen before because not only did we go over this in class, but also because you guys wrote this DBQ actually. But the summary of this is like, you know, if you're a frugal man, you can be wealthier in the long run than if you live a luxurious lifestyle and waste all your money. I said that's like a really Confucian ideology, right? Because Confucian ideology kind of explains like you shouldn't be extravagant, stay in your lane, what have you. And then I said these inspect themes fit under social and economics because if you're more economically frugal or more economically minded, you can live a better lifestyle, which is kind of a socioeconomic commentary. So this bias would be from like a Chinese official trying to convince their people to be more frugal during this time of global silver inflation. So that's kind of like what I just extracted from this one little baby document. And so you do that 6 more times. And you got to do it with every single document. And the reason you have to do it with every single document, I know it seems tedious, and I know you're like, oh, it seems like so much reading. You got to do it because that way you can really know what your 3 main arguments are going to be for your essay. Now, if you're worried about time, right? Always start with your largest document first and then go down from there. I also recommend always analyzing if there's pictures, political cartoons, or graphs. I recommend doing those last. Not because they're easier to analyze, but because they're quicker to analyze. The AP exam will usually give you graphs and images and political cartoons more frequently than they will just give you 7 straight up excerpts and documents. Okay? I'm giving you guys 5 prompts to choose from for this DBQ, and you choose one to write about. Every single prompt has documents that has at least 2 images in it. Okay, so there's no 7 documents that looks like this. Okay, anyone have questions about analyzing documents? Ben. Yeah, no, you want to assume that your reader knows nothing about the documents and knows nothing about history. But they're smart enough to read your essay. So like an 8th grader who's never taken a history class. Okay. So I have this Unit 7 DBQ set up. I put this under modules, this document analysis template. And this is to help you guys when you are doing your DBQ. I have assigned to you guys this DBQ Unit 7 on the AP Classroom dashboard. And when you're ready, when you guys are at home tonight and you're looking through all 5 options, you're going to pick one. And ideally, what you guys would do is you would do some copying and pasting into this template to help you guys analyze each document. Okay, so instead of just reading each document here, like, okay, source, Emiliano Zapata, main leader of the Peasant Rebellion. Okay, and then trying to do the like summary, POV, yada, yada. Instead, what I'm going to ask you to do is to copy and paste it into your document 1 here, okay? And then you would do all of your historical analysis down here at the bottom. That way you have it in one document. And so when you go to write your essay, you can just reference this document instead of having to go back and forth to the AP Classroom dashboard. Okay, so that's there for you guys to use as a way to analyze your documents. Do you have anyone have questions about this particular template? You're not turning it in. It's just there to help you analyze the documents for the prompt that you choose. Okay. Once you're done with that, and you're done analyzing every single one of your documents, all 7, you guys know what to do. You start grouping them into your buckets. Isn't that exciting? We love the buckets in this class. We do. Okay. So we have our buckets, 1, 2, 3, and these buckets represent your 3 body paragraphs, essentially. They recommend your 3 arguments. Did you have a question, whoever that was? No? Okay. So you have 3 arguments, you have 3 paragraphs. Okay, so that's what you're doing is you're setting up, you're grouping all of your documents, you're grouping your arguments. So now that you've read all 7 documents, you need to figure out how they relate to each other. So first period today, we decided that out of the 7 documents, document 1 and 6 relate to social effects on peasants. We said that documents 2 and 5 relate to social effects on women. And then we said the other 2 documents relate to the economic effects on the government, okay? We decided to focus on inspect themes, and these expect themes were explicitly asked to be focused on in the prompt right here. Okay, so we are just saying, okay, there's the prompt. They want us to focus on social and economic effects. We're going to split those social and economic effects into 3. The first 2 need to be the most similar. The third one needs to be dissimilar. The third one is your counter thesis. It is your alternate perspective, okay? So we decided to do 2 socials and 1 economic. You can do whatever you want. However you decide these documents fit with each other, that's up to you, okay? Last period, a student asked, what if, does the test maker expect us to group it a specific way? And the answer is yes and no. The answer is that the test maker is actually a psychologist, and they know that you're probably going to pick one of 3 ways to write this essay. And as a teacher, even if you don't work together, even if you guys took the test completely separately, most of you guys start to fall into 3 specific lanes. And so you guys all kind of, just on how you guys think and how you guys analyze the prompts. So most of the time, we kind of know where you're going to go based on what documents are provided and just like human patterns, okay? It doesn't mean that we expect you to be in those lanes. We're not expecting a specific essay. You can make any argument you can as long as it's legitimate and you use evidence to back it up from the documents provided. It's just that we tend to fall into a specific pattern because we're human beings, okay? So there's no expectation, but you're probably going to fit in a box that's already been kind of predetermined for you, is my answer to that question, if you were wondering. So we have our 3 buckets. We've dropped our little documents into the buckets. We have our 3 categories. So now, next, we're going to write our thesis. Okay? This first part is going to be a restatement of the prompt. And Mr. Zucker, who is a reader for the APUS exam, he just told us last week that if you don't restate the prompt, you will not get the point for the thesis. And so I wasn't too concerned about that because that's how you guys do it anyways. You guys already have been taught to restate the prompt as you saw it when it was first given to you. But some students don't do that. Some students try to do this like flowery, complex way of establishing their thesis, and it confuses the reader. So what the AP College Board has decided is that unless you like explicitly restate the prompt, they just aren't gonna give you the point, even if it's a beautiful thesis. Okay, so make sure you guys restate the prompt as you see it. So we restate the prompt. We say the economic and social effects of the global silver trade included, and we have our first argument, we have our second argument, and then we have our third counter alternate perspective argument. And you just kind of make them more complex in your thesis, okay? They're a little bit more specific, but not so hyper-specific that you're providing exact examples. So here we just kind of had our bullet point category: social effects on peasants, social effects on women, economic effects on government. Here we kind of say social effects that altered the lifestyle, negative social impacts on women. Just a little bit more depth to that iceberg. And then for your counter thesis, to set yourself up with a counter thesis, you can use words like but, however, or yet. Okay, so that's a good indicator to the reader that you're going to give them an alternate perspective. On the next page of this presentation, I actually give you guys examples of what an unacceptable thesis is and what an excellent thesis is. We always want to strive to be the most excellent, to be the most exemplary, because we go to Loyola. But these two in the middle were accepted, and the person did get the point for a thesis. Okay, so as long as you're not in this unacceptable range, you're going to get the point for the thesis. So an excellent thesis looks like this. It says, the increased flow of silver during the mid-16th century to the early 18th century caused social and economic effects, there he is, restating the prompt, almost exactly, in all regions connected with the trade by increasing the integration of Europeans in the globalization of world trade, economic argument 1, and creating greater economic opportunities, economic topic number 2. But also growing social divisions within China. So the third thing he decided to focus on was social. He decided to focus on the social impact. So he did 2 economics and a social. We just did 2 socials and an economic. Doesn't matter. You can do whatever you want, but it needs to be in that formula. So that's why his is excellent. Unacceptable theses look like this. There were many social and economic effects of the global trade in silver around the world. That is not acceptable. That is just a restatement of the prompt. Another person said, the global silver trade had a large impact around the world. Really? Yeah. Yeah, you guys say that's sad. That's embarrassing. You would never do anything like that. You guys can see immediately that that's not an argument. That's just a restatement of the prompt. Yeah. Okay, questions about theses? Okay, so let's move on to yeah, any question? In the back? No one? Okay, so after you guys have your bucket categories, after you've written your thesis, you now can set up your body paragraphs. I always recommend starting with your topic sentences because you're setting up a roadmap for the reader. You're constantly reminding the reader, look, this is what I'm talking about. This is my argument. This is why this is important. So you have to keep kind of indicating to them with these cues in your writing. So the first cue is your topic sentence. So if my first argument, my first category is social effects that altered lifestyles for peasants. Okay, I am going to make a very specific topic sentence that sets up my body paragraph that says something a little bit more about peasants' lifestyles being altered. So here I said, during the age of exploration, peasants were utilized as indentured servants to serve the booming silver coal mines, which forced them to the bottom of the socioeconomic pyramid. Okay, so this is kind of a social and economic topic sentence, but it still fits into the idea that socially, peasants were placed at the bottom of the social pyramid. Okay, so once I have my topic sentence, and I do that for paragraph 2, and I do it for paragraph 3, I need to attach evidence that supports that topic sentence, that proves from the documents, from one of the 7 documents, that proves that peasants their lifestyles were affected by this global trade. So once I find, and I'm sorry I didn't spell effects correctly, once I find a piece of evidence, I paraphrase it. I do not cite it directly. Some of you guys still cite directly from the documents, and you need to stop. Get out of that habit. That's something you do in English, and it's great for English. English is an art form. You guys are analyzing literature. You need to cite it directly. In a history class, we're not analyzing, artwork. We are providing contextual evidence of something that happened in history. So you need to paraphrase and then cite your document. Just in parentheses, whatever document you took that evidence from. And then you need to provide 2 sentences that explain and connect that evidence back to your topic sentence. Your explanation, your analysis, your connection portion is you showing off that you know about the content. You're saying, look, this was the evidence that peasants were affected. This is the impact. The fact that peasants were impacted in this way is so significant because. That's you. That's you showing off. You kind of giving the why does this matter explanation. Okay. Think of it also as an iceberg, right? The topic sentence is the tip. You're like, this is me just explaining to you that peasants were affected. And then once we get under the surface, we can start seeing the complexity. And that complexity point is so important. The complexity of history and how it impacts humanity. Okay? You do this 3 times per paragraph. 3 times per paragraph. And then at the very end, you include a concluding sentence. Okay? You do a body paragraph 3 times. So this evidence, for those my numerically minded people, you'll do this portion 9 times throughout your essay. 9 times throughout your essay. Okay? Any questions about body paragraphs? If I moved really quick for you and you're kind of like, that was a lot, Ms. Burkholder, I have this template for you. You guys, it's the same template that we used for the last DBQ last semester, but I kind of just beautified it a little bit. So essentially, I have it here. Topic sentence, evidence, explanation times 2. Evidence, explanation times 2. Okay? And so you'll do that throughout your essay until you get to the conclusion. So I have that template for you. So this is another resource you can use as you guys are writing these next 2.5 weeks. Okay? Let's go back. Okay, your conclusion. Oh, before we do that, I want to show you an example of a good start to a body paragraph. So this person has a topic sentence. They have this example right here, 1 sentence, paraphrased, and then they have 2 pieces of explanation, a connection of this example back to their topic sentence. The only thing I would tell this person, he or she cited their document here at the end of their analysis portion. You can do that. That's fine. I always recommend you do it at the end of your example here. Okay? So this is a really good acceptable start. You would do this 2 more times, right? You would do this 2 more times in the paragraph. Okay, so once you are done with your 3 body paragraphs, you need to write your conclusion. Students, they get hyper-focused on the conclusion because I think they get kind of confused about what needs to be in there. The conclusion is just a restatement of your thesis. You just take your thesis and you reword it in a way that explains the overall impact of this entire essay. You are answering in your conclusion, why does this matter? Okay, and if it helps you, you can literally say that. You can say, these are my 3 arguments. This matters because. And then you explain to me why this particular essay that you wrote a whole thing on, this particular thing in history, why does this matter to history overall? So that's what is put into your conclusion. And the reason I say don't lose sleep over it is because the probability of a reader getting to your conclusion is very minimal. Most of the time, they focus on your intro and they focus on your first body paragraph because that's what they get to. They take about 2 minutes per essay. So the probability for them to get there is very slim. And then also, by the time they get to your conclusion, they should have already seen that you've used all 6 documents, that you have a thesis, and that you have complexity. And that's where all your points come from. The conclusion could not be there, and you could still get all of the points in the rubric. Okay? But the reason we have the conclusion is because that's what historians do. Questions about that? Okay. Questions? I hear somebody's mic coming on. No questions. Okay. So to move into your like actual DBQ, this is due on March 31st. It's due at midnight, 11:59 p.m. on March 31st. We will be starting a new unit next week. So this, even though it is your Unit 7 essay exam and it will be put into the summative score for Unit 7, we will be starting Unit 8 next week. Okay, so if you are writing this essay and you start to realize or think that some of the stuff we're learning from Unit 8 applies to your DBQ, you're more than welcome to use Unit 8 information in your DBQ, your Unit 7 DBQ, but it'll still be put in as a Unit 7 score, okay? I am assessing 2 things with this DBQ. One is your ability to analyze primary and secondary sources and formulate an appropriate argument that answers a prompt. And the other thing I'm assessing is your ability to extract outside research. I'm trying to assess your guys' research skills. Some of the stuff in these DBQs we've gone over. Some of the stuff in these DBQs we're going to go over in this week. And then some of the stuff we just kind of maybe briefly mentioned or don't go over at all. And so the point of this DBQ is to kind of teach you guys how to find extra information outside of this class and apply it to your assessment and your analysis of primary and secondary sources. What you need to do is choose one of these 5 DBQs. This is assigned to you. It's on the AP College Board website dashboard. You're going to choose one of these 5. I have everything from comparing the Mexican Revolution to the Russian Revolution. I have one about just the Russian Revolution. I have one about gender and politics in Latin America. I have one about what is this one about? Where's my how did the First World War change the Europeans' relationship with their colonized peoples? And then this one is about the fall of the Ottoman Empire. So all 5 of these they were explicitly picked for this assignment because they aren't explicitly anything we talked about in detail in this class, but they are all things that surround the time period and don't really get focused on in a traditional classroom. So I still want you guys to have exposure to this information and kind of work through it in a really historical way. So you pick the one that you would like to focus on. It is your choice, okay? Quite frankly, the more diversity I get, the better, because it makes it less boring for me to read. I'll be very honest. You're welcome to work together in terms of structuring your documents. Maybe you want to share this template with a friend and you guys want to work on analyzing documents together. Maybe you guys want to even help maybe bullet point the writing portion of setting up and structuring your essay. You're welcome to do that. But at the end of the day, I do need to see you evidence that you wrote your own essay, okay? So you're always welcome to work together. I just need to see that you wrote the essay yourself. When you go to submit, and you can submit anytime from now until the 31st. You would just go to whichever DBQ prompt you chose. Say you chose number 5. You would copy and paste your essay into this little text box, and then you would click, mine says assign, but you would click submit. Okay? So that's that. That's your guys' kind of big assignment for the next couple weeks. A few people had some questions about like whether or not there's going to be other assignments, and the answer is yes. Like you guys have a genocide assignment that I'll introduce to you guys next class. But I don't want to overload you guys too much because it's an unusual circumstance and you guys have 7 other classes that I want to respect. So I do have assignments outside of this DBQ. You guys are also going to be required to watch some lectures. Like for example, I'm asking you guys to watch the lecture here, Finnish Interwar lecture with Mr. Kleiman and Mrs. Burkholder. That is, remember that lecture I started last week on World War, or the rise of Hitler in the interwar period that we didn't get to finish? Yeah, that's there for you. It is, Mr. Kleiman and I talked through the rest of that lecture, and you guys can watch that. So that's for you guys. And the expectation is that you guys are doing it all. I'm obviously not checking it. There's nothing you're going to turn in for the lectures. For the outside assignments, yes, I'll have you guys do like a quick assignment that you need to turn in, but for the most part, I'm just asking you guys to really focus on this DBQ and take care of yourselves. Okay? Does anyone have any questions about any of this? I know it's a lot of information. Yes. Yes. Yes, but your lecture will not last this long. Yeah. Most of the yeah, of course. You guys have a good one. Let me know if you have any questions. This video will be posted on Canvas, so if I did move too fast and you need to rewatch something, this is here for you. Okay? All right. Have a good one. Bye, everyone.